Instant coffee gets a bad rap from coffee lovers. Bean grinding, I just spent $1,200 on my own very own espresso machine for the kitchen. Takes up the entire counter, but I should taste the coffee. It's fantastic. I don't know where that voice came from. That's not what coffee people sound like. But let's be honest here. Its reputation generally as a foul-smelling, bland, acrid, bitter-tasting, brown hate fluid is relatively well earned. Instant coffee generally isn't good. Most of the time, it's barely drinkable if you, like me, have developed an appreciation for properly brewed coffee. And I hate that I've become slightly coffee snobbish because I always hate food snobs and wine snobs and coffee snobs. They're the most boring people on the planet when they start talking about how passionate they are about whatever it is they drink or shove in their face. But it's kind of inevitable because properly brewed coffee does taste just a universe better than this stuff. But Waka, who upon seeing a video I posted sort of Octoberish last year when I was traveling on a little thing I filmed in the hotel room, very bad quality video, but it was about a little tip that I discovered to make, instant hotel room coffee taste at least drinkable as opposed to hateful brown, what did I call it before? Brown hate fluid. I like that. But anyway, I guess someone at Waka saw that, or they've got a sort of Google alert for any sort of YouTuber mentions the word coffee or something, and they emailed me and said, hey, would you like to try our stuff? Because our stuff is the best instant coffee you'll ever have. And they said, and let me quote here, I've got the note, we want to revive the instant coffee category and on a mission to bring instant back. Which is just a marketing line. But being curious and possibly psychologically unable to say no to a free coffee, or a free beer, but that just comes along with being Australian, I said yes, and here we are. But let's roll back a bit and sort of try and discover why regular instant coffee is so bad and why this is supposed to be better. Laying the blame for the generally middling to poor quality coffee produced from instant granules is usually a combination of the massive industrial scale at which the coffee is produced, inferior bean choice, they always go for the cheap one because who cares, it's only instant, and many say that that's the process itself that kind of sucks the life out of the coffee. I mean, it's not fresh made, so of course you're going to lose something. You got to reckon, right? Now, instant coffee starts out like any other coffee process. Whole beans are roasted, ground, and brewed, but then all the water is removed from the brewed product, leaving behind the dehydrated crystals of coffee ready for packaging. The dehydration process is done one of two ways, usually. Spray drying, where they spray the brewed liquid coffee, usually already concentrated a little bit, through a series of spray heads to make a fine mist. They spray it into a tall oven-like vessel of about 200 degrees Celsius, hot, dry air in there. The mist dries as it falls, kind of like coffee snow almost. You can think about it like that way. And by the time it falls to the bottom, it's completely dehydrated, so they scoop up the crystals, jam it in a jar, and sell it to you. And then you buy it, and you put it in water, and you drink it, and you have just wads of brown regret. The other method, considered superior for its final quality, is freeze-drying. The liquid coffee is first cooked down into a concentrated but still liquid extract. It is then brought down to a sub-zero temperature that results in a kind of coffee slushy. Kind of want to try that. Just a spoonful. Probably awful. This is then spread out on a tray or conveyor belt or something similar and taken down to minus 40 degrees. And, fun science fact, minus 40 is the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius. It freezes into icy slabs, which is then smashed up into granules, which is then sent to a vacuum chamber where all the rest of the moisture is sublimated away, leaving you with the dry crystals. That's another science fact, actually, sublimation. In a vacuum, it goes directly from ice to gas without going to liquid in between, which obviously ruin the final product by turning the coffee back into a sludge. Sublimation, minus 40 Fahrenheit. You're learning lots, aren't you? As you may be able to guess, the freeze-drying method is a lot more labor-intensive, a lot more complicated, a lot more delicate. You need sort of fancier equipment, whereas spray drying is quick, fast, easy, and sort of low budget. And it's usually considered that the freeze-drying method results in a better final product, which is why Waka use that for theirs. But that's not the only difference, because there's a lot of freeze-dried instant coffee out there. One of the other differentiators the Waka people told me makes their product superior to familiar instant coffee is the beans. They use single source 100% Arabica beans, whereas quite a lot of other instant coffee, they told me, use Robusta beans. So I did a little bit of research of my own, and the instant coffee that I generally have available to me here as a, get anywhere kind of consumer product. You walk into any supermarket in Australia, you'll find these. So let's have a look. Nescafe Blend 43. Safe to say the most popular instant coffee in Australia. You'll find it in homes and offices everywhere. And a little research has revealed they too use Arabica beans. But as their branding suggests, they're blended with, of course, the more lowly regarded and harsher tasting Robusta beans. It's unclear what ratio these are blended, but I would expect the cheaper bean arrives in greater quantity at the Nescafe factories because they're making this down to our budget. Nescafe Blend 43 is also spray dried, as shown by the telltale fine soil-like shape of the granules. Blend 43 is okay. It's flat tasting, it's bland, it's recognisably coffee at least, and it will do in a pinch. And like I said, it's probably Australia's most popular instant coffee. Moccona, which I had recommended to me a few times as a superior instant coffee, has the iconic sharper crystal shard-like granule shapes of a freeze-dried coffee. Some searching reveals they too blend their Arabica beans with the less complex Robusta beans. The brighter acidic and fruitier taste of Moccona compared to Blend 43, though, seems to indicate there's maybe a more generous quantity of Arabica in their blend. But it could also be that the freeze-drying versus the spray-drying just helps maintain the taste profile better. Then there's this. The cheapest instant coffee on my supermarket shelves, a store-branded product, and despite being the absolute cheapest you can get, it is freeze-dried. It's done the fancy way. And they claim it's made from 100% Arabica beans. So what's that about? Freeze-dried, made from the fancy beans, but the cheapest. But despite being made with the same beans and the same method, it is not very good. I think the general quality of the 100% Arabica beans might be the absolute dregs of the harvest or something, because it's you make it hot and it's just terrible. If you make it with cold water, kind of an instant iced coffee kind of thing, it's actually kind of drinkable. I have that quite a lot actually, just because it's so cheap. But clearly this demonstrates it's not just about what name the beans have or the process. Waka is apparently doing something more, and I think that might start with actually getting good Arabica beans instead of the dreg Arabica beans perhaps. And I do have to admit, when the samples at first arrived and I made my first cup of coffee, took my first sip, my reaction went something like this. Because I didn't expect it to be that good. I expected all their claims to be basically marketing, targeting hipsters who want their instant coffee but don't want to pretend like they're not coffee snobs anymore. So they get the fanciest instant coffee possible, and then they can talk to their friends about how fancy it is. And quite frankly, I didn't expect it to be good. But it's good. It is closer in taste to a pour-over than a French press brew, and from a sort of medium roast, I would estimate. It's a very well-rounded flavour, not super complex, but gentle acidity without losing the iconic dark chocolatey bite of a decent brew. There's a little citrus in it, and it also seems higher in caffeine than your average instant coffee as well. From the very first cup I had, I felt the caffeine buzz just like I do with a properly made coffee, but I don't usually get from a instant coffee. It really is remarkable how much closer to a fresh brew this is against even the best of the supermarket off-the-shelf variants I've explored. And to be clear on this, in case me sort of presenting other brands hasn't been a clue already, this is not a sponsored coffee. This is not a sponsored video. They did send me free samples to try out, but they haven't, they don't have editorial control. They haven't seen this video before it goes up, and they just say, hey, try it. And they're sort of confident enough in their own product to just trust that I would like it. And I did. And I have made it with and without my little trick that probably first brought these guys, or brought me to these guys' attention in the first place. And that is using a little bit of cold water to make a little coffee slurry before you pour in the hot water to try and prevent the starch from doing whatever it does when you just flash it with hot water. And Waka too does benefit from that as well. I mean, if you just make it with straight hot water the lazy way, it's fine. If you do the little cold water trick first, it's slightly better as well. So coming full circle on that. And after all that, what you are in fact left with is 1 cup of what I consider to be the best instant coffee ever. In fact, I'd go as far to say it's strongly competitive with some of the more average barista fresh-made stuff I've had in actual cafes. I'm not kidding. It's not exaggeration. It does taste quite a lot like a decent, fresh brewed coffee. Certainly much closer than any other instant coffee I've ever tried, and I have tried many because, well, quite frankly, I've been fighting against the YouTube algorithm, and the, money coming in hasn't been that great lately, so I've had to budget on my coffee side of things. So I've been drinking instant. I do suggest you try it out. If you do, or if you have, hit the down below area and tell me what you think. Does it measure up? I'm not a particular coffee snob, but I am particular about my coffee. If you're going to have something, you might as well have something nice, right? Waka. I think it sounds best with an Australian accent as well. Waka. In fact, Waka, if you want to hire me to do some ads for you. Crikey! Waka Coffee! Get it in ya, mate. Goes well with shrimp on the barbie, I'm told. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time. And I'm gonna... It really is very pleasant.